رائد إذا في سؤال واحتجنا ترجمة أبعت لك على المسج.
على المسج أو أنا بساعد يعني أوصل.
أوكي.
I'll start recording the event and we can start in a second. Welcome everyone. This is Ra'id Jarrar with Democracy for the Arab World Now. I am joined today with an amazing panel of Palestinian speakers. As a Palestinian American myself, I'm very proud to be involved, very proud to see large organizations and think tanks in Washington, D.C. Organize and co-host today's event about the 6 Palestinian civil rights organizations who are being targeted by Israeli authorities. Today's co-hosts or conveners of the event include Democracy for the Arab World Now, the Carnegie Institute, Middle East Institute, and Foundation for Middle East Peace, and Crisis Group and Century International. Today's event will be moderated by 2 of my colleagues. I'll introduce them and then they can take it from there. First is Laura Friedman, President of the Foundation for Middle East Peace, USMEP. And she's joined by my colleague Khalid Al-Kindi, who is a senior fellow and the director of the Palestine program at the Middle East Institute. Khalid, please take it away.
Thanks, Ra'id. I think, first of all, let me thank everyone for attending, and especially our co-conveners, the organizations that Ra'id mentioned, and particularly our 6 Palestinian guests. I think Laura is going to start off the discussion with the first round of, with the first question.
Thanks, Khalid, and I want to echo the thanks to everyone who's attending. I think we have hundreds of people from all over the world here today, which is a testimony to the interest in hearing from you, the Palestinian organizations. The question that I want to start off with actually is to not talk about specifically the crisis that we're dealing with today, which is the occasion for this event, but I actually want each of you to take a moment and introduce your organizations, because your names are now in the headlines and a lot of people don't know who you are and what it is you do. So I want to give you an opportunity to lay that out first, and then we'll get into the rest. Sahar, do you want to start us off?
Sure. Good evening, and thanks a lot for this opportunity and organizing this great event. I'm Sahar Francis, a human rights lawyer and the director of Ad-Damir Prisoner Support and Human Rights Association. Ad-Damir was founded actually in late years of the first Intifada in order to give an answer for the need for free legal aid for Palestinian political prisoners under the Israeli occupation. So we started with the legal program representing Palestinian prisoners in front of the military court system and the Israeli civil system when needed, of course, and monitoring and documenting daily conditions of these prisoners under interrogation, torture, ill treatment, and harassment and other violations by visitation to the prisons. And after the establishment of the Palestinian Authority, we started to focus as well on representing Palestinian prisoners arrested by the Palestinian Authority for political affiliation, and we still do. We have advocacy program as well and raising awareness in our community. We represent basically thousands of Palestinian prisoners in our 30 years of work.
Thank you. Shawan, do you want to go next?
Thank you, Lara, and thank you for the organizers for this great event. Al-Haq is the first. My name is Shawan Jabareen, the director of Al-Haq. Al-Haq is the first human rights organization in Middle East, not just in Palestine. It was founded by Palestinian lawyers. And the main one is Raja Shahada, Jonathan Kuttab, Charlie Shammas, and others. It was founded in 1979. Now it's 42 years in this field. We document human rights violations. And even since the beginning, you know, the first department that we established, it was the Fieldwork and Monitoring Department. We go and gather first-hand data from the victims, eyewitnesses about the violations. Because of that, we depend on our information, on our first-hand data. Because of that, the Israelis, they haven't challenged our information since the beginning until today. This is, I think, also a sign what we do and which level of professionality and the credibility. We define ourselves as an advocacy organizations. We advocate in different levels, UN, EU, third state parties, and also internally. And after Oslo, we define ourselves as bird with two wings. One wing cover the Israeli occupying power violations, and also the other wing is covered also Palestinian violations. Irrespective of who is the perpetrators, this is, I think, a very important thing. We are not selective, but one main lessons that we learned in our long time work in this field, that if you hold the criminals accountable for their crimes, they will repeat their crimes again and again and again. And because of that, the accountability is one of the main work that we do. And we felt since the beginning when we established this to go, you know, to use the universal jurisdiction way to hold the criminals accountable before national courts. And after the Palestinians acceded to the ICC, we pushed, you know, for that strongly, and we use now this mechanism. I think when we decided to use all of these things, we crossed the red lines. And since the beginning, we felt that we will pay a high price. And this is, I think, you know, things that we are facing, and we have facing all of these difficulties since the beginning. But anyway, we do also legal research, training, capacity building to the Palestinian side, and also we have program at the regional level. Thank you.
Thank you. Tahrir, can you go ahead? You are muted.
Hello, my name is Tahrir Jaber. I'm the Executive Director of the Union of Palestinian Women Committees. The Union of Palestinian Women Committees is a grassroots organization. It's a women organization established in 1980 for the purpose of empowering Palestinian women to defend their socio-political rights. Our goal is to build a civil, democratic, progressive community free of all forms of discrimination and respect women's rights as part of the human rights in general. The UPWC struggles to empower Palestinian women and develop their circumstances to achieve real equity between men and women, as well as among all social classes. The Union, on the other hand, considers itself part of the Palestinian national development movement that struggles against the illegal Israeli occupation to our land and to achieve the national independence, and practice our normal and legal role in resisting this illegal occupation to our land. UPWC, since its establishment, provides some services to women because of the lack of these services, especially in the remote areas, the areas that are classified C areas, such as we have a childhood program that around 2,000 child graduated from the kindergartens managed by the Union in the most poor and marginalized areas. We provide psychosocial and legal support and counseling for women, the victims of gender-based violence. We provide economic support program for the marginalized and poor women through established women cooperatives and income-generating projects. We have our raising awareness program towards women's rights. And we have training and capacity building for the women, especially the young generation. Thank you.
Thank you. Ubay, you want to go next?
Bsharat Center for Research and Development is a progressive center that was established as a think tank back in 1989. It was established at the hands of academics and progressives in order how to enact development that would contribute to the emancipation of the Palestinian people and achieve social justice. Bsharat has worked as a vibrant part of the Palestinian civil society for the past 30 plus years, contributing to the foundation of many of the important networks that are now present in the Palestinian community, such as the non-governmental organization, Palestinian Non-Governmental Organizations Network, the Coalition to Fight Corruption, and the NGO Forum to Combat Violence Against Women. Bsharat has a long history of research from a socioeconomic rights perspective on the impacts of policies, especially donor policies in the Palestinian context, and prides itself with critical research and linking Palestinian researchers to academics worldwide.
Thank you. How about Fawad next?
Thank you. Okay, good evening for everyone, and thanks for the organizers for giving us this opportunity and participating in this great webinar actually, and to talk directly with all this audience. My name is Fawad Abu Saif. I'm UAWC Director, and UAWC is a stand for Union of Agriculture Work Committees, one of the greatest local non-profit organization in Palestine, working in West Bank and Gaza since 1986. And working in different areas and fields. We are working in sites, and we believe that the problem in Palestine, especially for the farmer, is not because of the hunger and not because of natural crisis, but because of the occupation. And because of that, UAWC is like putting a huge effort in improving life quality of the farmers, in particular in Area C and in Gaza. And to do that, we're having and we run tens of different programs in different areas. Yearly, we are serving more than 25,000 different families. Most of them is farmers living in vulnerable areas in West Bank and Gaza. Food sovereignty is a huge issue here for UAWC, and we're believing that improving the accessibility and the right of having access for the farmer to their natural resources is a must and a fundamental right. And without that fundamental rights and access, I think the farmer will be keeping their suffering from this occupation. UAWC also established under this objection and in order to enhance and increase the steadfastness of the Palestinian farmer in Area C, we established, for example, different initiatives. One of the most important initiatives that we are run right now, in alignment with applying the food sovereignty as a practical solution for most of our problem in Palestine, the seed bank. We established the first national seed banks, and this seed bank is like providing the farmer with source of food to plant it and to avoid any other kind of seeds where it's controlled totally by Israeli companies. To do that, also we create different kind of local committees to defend the farmer rights and to be sure that we have an access to the farmers and knowing very well the needs of the farmer in each area. We are, through the land development programs and the other programs, yes, changing the facts on Area C, because we believe the farmers and the lands in Area C, without being reclaimed or rehabilitated, it will be confiscated. And this is one of the things that we're suffering as a Palestinians. So we need to do that through different programs and land development programs. One of that, which is make the conflict with the Israelis, especially settlers, face to face from zero. I don't know, I cannot hear Khalid if he talk to me.
I don't think he is. I think he's doing something else. I think he's multitasking.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. So that's exactly where we are changing, as I said, the facts of the farmer in the way that we can. First of all, improving the livelihood of the people by improving the economic situation of the farmer. Number two, which is most important also, which is protecting the Palestinian land by reclaiming the land, not leaving the land without being used, then it will be easy to compensate. In general, UAWC is a member of many networks internally, externally, and one of the most important networks that we are member and represent Palestine and the Arab region, La Via Campesina, where 200 million farmers member of that networks, and it's like where we put an efforts also internally to influence in the official policy for the Palestinian Authority to bring them closer to Area C and the farmer in Area C. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And last we have Khalid. And for people viewing it, I have changed everybody's names. I hope you're okay with that, to add in their organizational affiliation so people can keep track of who everyone is. Khalid, go ahead.
Thank you, Lara, and thanks for the organizers for giving us this opportunity to be with you and with the audience. My name is Khalid Kuzmar. I'm the Director of Defense for Children International Palestine. DCI Palestine this year celebrated the 30th anniversary of establishing this organization, established in 1991 after the campaigns that happened against the children during the first Intifada. So professionals and academics who've been in the Israeli prison, they saw how they are treating the children in the detention, the Israeli military detention system. The main purpose of establishing the organization is to defend the Palestinian children in the Israeli military courts, and to visit them and to give them legal consultation. And after the establishing the Palestinian Authority, we also expand our work to work with children in conflict with the law and children victim of community violence. And by the time we start to discover that giving services without holding the stakeholders who are violating the children's rights accountable, so it's wasting money and time and service. So we decided to expand our work in the advocacy side, so we become documenting all the violations against the children in the Israeli military court system, and using these information especially about torture, ill treatment, solitary confinement, all the violations, and use it in our advocacy in the international level, asking for accountability and for justice for the Palestinian children. Myself, I started in the organization as a defense lawyer, so I used to defend every year more than 200 children in the Israeli military system, and I saw in my own eyes how is they are treating the children, and how is this military courts works, which so far from the fair trial standards, only using military orders. So we continue also to use this experience also in the Palestinian side to create a juvenile justice system in accordance with the international standards. And we can say that we were very active in this regard, and now we have a juvenile justice system in Palestine work according to the international standards. We build the capacity of the juvenile judges, juvenile prosecutors, juvenile police, and also we expand this experience to the Arab region, and now we are working with about 10 states to create a juvenile justice system in accordance with the international standards. Also, we work with children in the Palestinian Authority and building their capacity about their rights and raising awareness about their rights, and also because all the time they are facing the Israeli violations and attacks. So now most of our work is how to keep the hope for those children who are all the time, and during the awareness sessions, they will feel that they have a lot of rights and they are in safety place, but when they get out, they become without any kind of protection. So to keep the hope is a very very important component for us. And also in the advocacy side, we expand our work in 2014 to start to work in the United States with the Congress, with the different networks, network in the US, and of course to the ICC. And now we are presenting tens of the victims who were killed or were subject to serious attacks from the Israeli authorities.
Thank you, Khaled, and thank you all for highlighting the kinds of work that you're doing. I want to ask you the question that is on everyone's mind right now, which is the reason that we're all here, and that is, why do you feel that your organizations are being targeted, and why now? So I want to ask maybe 2 or 3 of you to articulate that for us. Feel free to volunteer, whoever wants to jump in.
Maybe I think I'm willing to talk about this issue because it is a continuous campaigns that we receive of attacks that we received. I can start if my colleagues allowed me.
Go ahead.
Please go ahead.
So, as I said, the last words that I talked about, that when we start to work in the advocacy side and expand our work in the advocacy with this clear message to hold the criminals accountable about their crimes in the US, in the Congress, and in the Congress we start to lobby and to have more and more congressmen who are supporting our work, and the issue of the Palestinian children start to discuss, and the Israeli violation to discuss inside the Congress. It's considered as crossing the red lines. And we faced since 2014 campaign of attacks against all DCI partners around the world, and even the company, the audit company that we worked with, the banks we were working with, every month at least, even if sometimes not weekly. So we file a complaint against them in the UK lawyers in the UK, and the complaint after 10 months we discovered that according to the law in the UK, we have to put a guarantee amount of 500,000 in the account of the court because we are foreigners. So we ask our lawyers to try to find a settlement, at least to silence them. We don't want any compensation or punishment because we haven't the resources, the financial resources to continue. So we reached a settlement to stop attacking DCI and to publish in their website that they have no problem with DCI stuff, with the structure or against DCI. And after that, we start to receive attacks from different Israeli right-wing groups and from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Ministry of Strategic Affairs, and until 29 of July. They raided the office without any notification, without any information, without just attack it, break the door, and they steal. And maybe you saw on the social media how the soldiers were steal the computers from the office. We consider this step as a stage as escalation, but I never expect that it will go ahead because, of course, we know ourselves, and even we challenge this step in the Israeli military court, and the Israeli military court hearing, there were 2 hearing courts, and all the time they used the secret file without knowing why, which kind of information they have against us. And we shocked when Friday we hear that they published this decision, which is for us, shocked us because there is no legal reasons behind that. We believe that there is a political reasons behind this decision, and we know that because our work in the US and in the ICC, they try to silence us or to forbidden us from continue our mission in this regard.
Thanks, Khaled. Sahar, go ahead.
Yes, I think we are targeted because we are succeeding. We are succeeding in changing the paradigm in the analysis of the international law level, in highlighting that this regime is more kind of apartheid and colonialist regime and not just occupation. And this is because of the success of the NGOs in the accountability level, especially as my colleagues highlighted, our work versus the International Criminal Court in bringing cases, our work versus the UN different procedures level by pointing to the fact that, for example, in our case, working 30 years on the military court system and all the proofs that we are bringing in like putting this system as a kind of a tool that is used to more oppress the Palestinian people, and we're disclosing how actually Israeli occupation is using the justice system in order to oppress the Palestinian people and to use it to arrest more and more and to control our daily life and to affect our right to self-determination. Actually, lately, we're talking about the use of the justice system, so far the military courts with the military order as an annexation tool in order to implement their plan for the annexation. Annexation is not just annexing the land, but if we take what happened just now, the decision of the Israeli minister actually is based on the Israeli law. It wasn't supposed to be implemented automatically in the occupied territories, and they should be using the military order system that they have, but instead he's issuing Israeli law and he's trying to use it. This is the kind of the legal annexation that we're trying to prove and to present in front of the international level as a war crime that the occupation should be accountable for. And this is why mostly we are targeted. And also Domir, like DCI, were targeted since decades. The first time we were raided were back in 2001 in the second Intifada, in 2012, and then again in 2019. So if they had evidences from our offices for these allegations, why they didn't brought it for the court, why they are relying on secret information now to claim that we are associated for terrorism. Actually, because they failed in affecting our daily work and our messages and our work on the international level, they are trying now to illegalize us in order to make the international community fearing from communicating with us. This order would be used mostly against the Israeli organizations, the Israeli individuals who communicate with us, and mostly on the international level, they will try to affect the funders or the international organizations that they support us.
Shawan, you had your hand up earlier, but you put it down. Did you want to weigh in, or should we?
Just a few comments, Khalid. I think the nature of our work is the reason. Second, I think also our narrative and our legal analysis, it builds now a common narrative between all the international human rights organizations, which it will educate the people about the nature of this occupation and this occupying power. This is an ordinary occupation. It has a nature of apartheid and colonialism. And I think this is also another thing. Beside, the main issue is to go after their commanders, their key figures, those they are complicit with the crimes, those they committed war crimes. This is, I think, an issue. This is the red line for them, because all the time they claim that they are the only democracy in this, in this region and maybe elsewhere. But the facts shows completely different story. And here we build our narrative, our analysis on facts. I think they can't challenge our information. This is the case. Because of that, it's easy for them to challenge, let me say, military groups, they can't challenge X or Y, but it's not easy to challenge legal, peaceful groups. They address their narrative, their, let me say, messages, their information in a very professional way. Because of that, we build this credibility at every level. And I think they are losing in all levels. The people now, and mainly the young generations, they are more aware. They are taking the side of justice, to be honest with you, and the occupying power they are, and oppressive regime, they are concerned from that. They tried to shut us down. They tried to send the fear when they put roses of funerals behind the doors of our colleagues, those they work in The Hague, and they, they are the focal persons with the International Criminal Court. This is an issue. This is a mafia ways and methods that they use when they hack the computers of our organizations, when they send the messages, when they call our colleagues and call me, for a death threats and all of these things. This is what's happened. Because of that, I look at it as a process, but they failed in their process. They tried to contact, and they have been contacting our funders and our partners since so long, and they failed also to dry our resources. This is, I think, the last bullet in their hands, and this is a political bullet because it has no legal basis and it has no security basis. And this is the case. Because of that, we challenge them. I challenge them to approve what they said. I challenge them. They arrest children with 12 years old in midnights because they throw stones. How they live and keep, terrorists going for decades. This is a ridiculous narrative. This is a ridiculous information, I think. And again and again and again, we challenge them. We will continue. We will not give up. They will not silence us. And that's the case because they know that the work in human rights, for justice, for equality, it's not a job. And they know that well, that they are facing people. They have deep faith and belief. This is the case. Because of that, they try to silence us in this political way.
Thank you, Shoan. Fouad, please go ahead.
Yeah, the answer is actually easy. I think the great and huge impact the six organization had since it's existing, and particularly recently, is one of the main reasons. Because UAWC is, for example, we have like long journey of incitement and different kind of restrictions from the occupation and from the Israeli Zionist groups who run after UAWC since 15 years. And it started increasing from 2014 until now, when we doubled our presence in Area C, mainly because UAWC is doing different work more or less than the other 5 organizations. We are supporting the farmer in reclaiming the land on the ground. And when it comes to the land and you do development on the land where it's under threat, that means you are will be under attack on daily basis. And this is what happened actually. They tried to stop us many times. They use different ways to stop us from continuing our agricultural work in Area C from time to time until they threat even our people. They destroy some vehicle to UAWC. They arrest some UAWC staff, did everything they can. Then they did not receive to the point that we will give up, because the decision taken from the beginning that we will not give up. This is our fundamental rights, and we are defending ourselves and our farmer. And when they start talk about annexation and then changing the decision after the pressure from US, but on the ground as a field worker on the Area C, we see that is continuing. It's on daily basis, they confiscate land and continue in their policy on Area C. Our programs, they said in different way that this object their annexation plan, reclaiming, for example, more than 700,000 dunums, full reclamation and rehabilitation during the past 20 years, opening more than 1,000 kilometers of agricultural road, harvest and support the farmer to have an access to hundreds of thousands of water bringing to Area C. this is actually worth them, and this is the reason behind all this kind of attack. We are continuing. They put huge efforts, and they are backed by the Israeli government. Their resources is huge. They send different messages to us. One of that is, okay, stop doing land reclamation, land development, agricultural road, water, improving the accessibility of the farmer area. See, switch your work to another objectives. I was laughing with them. You want us to have like a dance or a culture program in Ramallah or in Hebron cities. Then after that, you will like being in peace with us. We will not continue. Our objective is straightforward, the land. And this is, we're working in a private land. It's a Palestinian owned land. It's a private, even not the public land. We're not touching the public land. So the ownership is there. We will continue supporting thousands of farmers. And exactly the 6 organizations represent a new model. And steadfastness means that you have to present to the people a model, an initiative full of transparency. The governance is there. So because they don't want this model to be succeed.
Thanks. And I want to follow up on something that was referenced a little bit by some of the answers already. So a lot of folks some of the folks who are listening certainly know or watching know a lot about this already, but a lot of people don't. And to some extent, this is being presented in the Israeli press and by Israeli spokespeople as something that just came out of the blue. They had this evidence has appeared and they have to file these charges. I want one or more of you to talk about the history of this, what led up to this, because the allegations against all of the organizations in this webinar have actually been going on for a very long time. They're basically exactly the same allegations. There's a big question of what is new this time. And particularly, as Shawan said, targeting the funders in Europe. So can someone talk a little bit and talk about, for instance, the Ministry of Strategic Affairs and NGO Monitor, the campaigns that have been ongoing there?
Okay, maybe I can start here. You know, this kind of smear campaign is part of the shrinking space for civil society global phenomenon. Israeli occupation forces have, for the most part in the past 20 years, have been quite worried because of the discourse and the work of the civil society organizations, whether they were local or international in Palestine. The case of Omar from Human Rights Watch was denied visa because of the work of Human Rights Watch. I think is one of the most evident cases there. The so-called military control system was not even able to bring real and actual charges against the organizations and cause the closure of these organizations, although this system is in favor of the occupier, in favor of their discourse, in favor doesn't have due process, etc. And this is something that's well documented. So a couple of years ago, they started going after the funding of the organizations by creating right-wing organizations that target us with smear campaigns. The notions of UN Watch, UK Lawyers for Israel, NGO Monitor, all of those are right-wing organizations. Regavim, in case of OAX, those are all right-wing organizations that make absolutely ridiculous claims, but I think they are going by the motto, if you repeat the lie enough, people will start believing it. And this is what happened. People didn't start to believe them, but they started to believe themselves. A couple of months ago, they had this big event where they published that they had evidence against the organizations, that there was misuse of EU funding, and they got even the ambassadors, all EU ambassadors in Israel, and handed them dossiers. A lot of the EU ambassadors took the dossiers, went back to their home countries, started examining them, etc. And then we heard statement after another. And this is well documented that there is no fact, there is no evidence, there is no substance to their claims. Gantz, in his declaration, press declaration on Friday, actually said to the Jerusalem Post, we talked to the Europeans and they refused to stop funding for these organizations. This is why we took this step. So it was quite clear. Evidence-wise, they have nothing. Israel arrests, as Shawan said, 12-year-old and younger There's a widely circulated video of an 80-year-old being arrested by the Israeli army in Jerusalem for minor offenses such as throwing rocks or even carrying Palestinian flags or anything like that. If they had any kind of evidence against the organizations, us employees, etc., and any doubts, of course, they would have come and attacked us. But for us, this is quite evident that they are not comfortable with our work. They are not comfortable with our message, even inside the mobilization of either internationals or the Palestinian communities. And they try to, and their previous attempts at smear campaigns have reached, I think, their conclusion that nobody else is believing their organizations. So they went on and fired their last bullets as declaring these organizations as terrorist organizations, which is not only targeting us as Palestinian organizations and civil society, but this is also targeting Israeli organizations that are partnering with us, international organizations that are registered in Israel that are also working with us. And I want to say that the precedent for this, I think a couple of weeks ago, was in the Chinese authorities declaring Amnesty International in Hong Kong as also a terrorist organization. So they saw an opportunity and said, okay, let's go ahead with this. This is an opportunity to end not just Palestinian civil society, but also civil society and progressive movement in Israeli community and worldwide.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. So did someone else, let's see, Khaled, did you want to weigh in on this? You are muted.
Me or the other Khaled?
Oh, I'm sorry, Khaled from DCIP. He has his hand up. And you, Khaled from DCIP, you are muted. Unmute.
Yes.
Thank
yes.
you.
In brief, I can say that in DCI and maybe others also in their work, we collected evidence from the victims themselves, and we become like a resource for the international human rights organizations and even the UN agencies concerning the Israeli crimes against the children in Palestine. So this is one of the main, one of the reasons. And the second, by lobbying in the Congress and starting even to lobby with the Congress members in order to draft laws to deprive Israel from using the fund in torturing and ill-treatment children. This is another reason. And the third one, by going to the ICC, the International Criminal Court. So the International Criminal Court will prosecute the criminals who are responsible of the killing or the torturing children. And the head of the list is the one who issued this decision, the Minister of Defense, who is responsible of the killing of more than 550 children in Gaza during the war in 2014. So he took this step or this decision in order to, as a criminal, in order to try to protect himself in this court by criminalizing the organization who worked to put him to reserve his seat in the ICC and in the prosecution.
Thank you. Tahrir, would you like to intervene on this one? And you are muted.
Yes. Yes, I want to say is this decision is not less dangerous than any decision they took from 1948 until now. Nowadays, we can talk about the displacement of, they took the decision of the displacement of the people from Sheikh Jarrah. Every day they confiscated land for building their, for enhancing their settlements and building growth. Every day there is a ninth raid to the house of and the children. So we don't know what is the evidence. As my colleague said, they arrested now around 150 children in Israeli jails in humanitarian conditions. They didn't provide any evidence for for that they are terrorism. I don't know if there is a 10 years a child considered terrorist or not. This step is it's not. This step is not new for the Palestinian NGOs, and most of the Palestinian NGOs are mentioned in the NGO monitor. This means now is that the whole community in Palestine is terrorism according to their classifications and designations. So I think no. We don't know why they decide now. They should provide this evidence to the world, not us. But we know well that this process is a continuation of their arbitrary decisions and terrorists against our people. The last period, there is an arbitrary steps taken by the occupation towards Palestinian women, such as the arrest of human rights defenders and students. Around more than 10 women was arrested last year. With the aim, we know that the aim is preventing those women from exposing the crimes of the occupation and from convening their voices to the world. Thank you.
And Sahar, back to you.
Yes, I think, and allow me, because I think we have a huge audience not definitely aware about the context here, and I mean especially the legal context and how easy the Israeli occupation is issuing military orders, amending these military orders, because we should explain how it works actually and where it comes from. Israel, after the creation of the state, they remained using the British security regulations. And these security regulations, kind of anti-terror laws that Israel was relying on since 48 till today, both in Israel and in the occupied territories. And they were using this basically because it gives a huge space for the military governor and the Minister of Defense, so-called, inside Israel to designate any group of people as a terrorist group. And this is why they were able all these decades to illegalize student movement, unionists, political parties, and each group that was criticizing Israel. So the attack didn't start today. The attack is decades of oppression and fighting against anyone that resists the policies and of the state. And it's just growing and growing. And as I said, it's the annexation because, and what happened now with the changes on the Israeli side by finding this anti-terror law in 2016, by the way, it's not canceling totally the use of the security regulations inside the state of Israel, but they also amended these parts of this law into the military system by using the military orders. And now they developed the definition of the who's a terrorist organization. It become more even vague. They included all the activities of the financial support and any kind of support. And this is the new thing now, that it's a test case for them how to use it. And they were trying to see what's the reaction of the world actually. And what we have to highlight here, that you cannot treat the Palestinian occupied territories when it comes for anti-terror laws in the international arena as the same as a normal situation, because it's not a normal situation. And this is what the High Commissioner meant in her statement, to highlight that anti-terror laws cannot be tolerated and used and manipulated in this way to be used against human rights organizations. They are struggling with their people to secure their self-determination. And I think this is why it's very important to understand how the system works. It's very easy to criminalize every Palestinian person. So when they claim that this individual is a PFLP or Hamas or Islamic Jihad, let me remind you that all the parties included in the PLO is still declared illegal in the Israeli military orders and inside Israel, which means they can claim against Mr. Mahmoud Abbas himself as the Fatah leader as a criminal terrorist person. It's as easy as it is that they can criminalize everyone and claim based on secret information that he's a terrorist, and then to claim against us that he's an employee or a board member or a General Assembly member. Thank you.
Thank you, Sahar. You really, I think, highlighted a really critical point here, and that is the legal and context in which all of your organizations are operating, and the challenges posed by working in an environment under military occupation where the normal sort of judicial due process guarantees and basic rights simply don't apply. So I wonder, given that, and there are many cases to look at, like the Mohammed al-Halabi case of World Vision, what sort of recourse do your organizations have now to fight these challenges within this system that you just described? And where does that leave you as organizations and your ability to function? So if I could put that to one or two of you, just go ahead and raise your hand. Go ahead, Khalid. Please unmute yourself.
Thank you. I would like to talk about the Israeli military system, because as a Palestinian in the occupied territory, we only subject to the Israeli military court system. So the military court system, from my experience for more than 20 years in this system, I can conclude, as many other Israeli lawyers and international lawyers said, that the system is designed in order to punish the Palestinians, not to obtain any kind of justice. And also, which is very important and very dangerous, like to legitimate the Israeli crimes and the practices against the Palestinians. So what we see, what we monitor in the Israeli military court, that arresting a child in the middle of the night, interrogate the child without family member, without legal consultation, without a lawyer, and send him to the court, it is legal. But if you go just a few kilometers to see how they are treating the Israeli children in a different juvenile justice system. So this system is designed to punish the Palestinian. As a Palestinian, the only way to challenge any action, any decision, any military order is only in the Israeli military court. Land confiscation, they confiscate even the authority of the civil system before the occupation. So even the traffic cases now is dealt in the Israeli military court. So land confiscation in the military court, bypass roads and confiscating the lands of the people, and the killing, house demolition, all the cases are, the only way is to challenge in the Israeli military court system. And after procedures, maybe Sahar know more about the Israeli Supreme Court system, but from the record of the Israeli human rights organization, some of them, like B'Tselem, they decided to boycott this system, this tool, because basically there is no rights for the Palestinian, only they legitimate the crimes against the Palestinian. So if we try to use this, only we can just play with the time. But now no more. To obtain justice is impossible in this system.
Please go ahead, Fuad.
Yes, just an example from our case, which is when they raid our office July 7th, then they give us they fixed the paper with telling that the office, the headquarter office of UAWC in Ramallah closed for 6 months. Then we hired a lawyer, an Israeli lawyer, and we decided to go to the Israeli court after internal discussion with the board. We know very well that the Israeli court will not changing anything, but the advice of everyone, okay, go to use these procedures, because there is nothing actually. The reasons built the case of UAC is baseless. They don't have any evidence against us to link UAC as an organization with anything else outside. Then we started the procedures. We applied for the Supreme Court actually, and they set a date for us for that court in end of November. Then suddenly they came with this new decision. It's like no meaning to use and to go to the Israeli court in many cases. We tried, then it's not working. With the land, with the farmers, one of the programs that we are following is to defend their rights and try to confront the confiscation orders given by the military order given to confiscate the lands of the farmer in Area C. When we bring the farmer to the court, they start, or even if they ask them to why you're working in Area C, it's an Israeli area controlled by the military, so you have to request a permit. Then you have to ask for permits. And when you ask permit, the farmer to work in their land, in private land, it took him sometimes 5, 6, 10 years. Imagine there's some permits requested from the Israelis to build houses or to do kind of investment in agricultural land or building school in very remote area in Area C. The permits requested before 10 years and no answer from the Israelis. And once you start these procedures, you cannot go further and do any other things. So this is exactly the track if you're using this challenge.
So I want to go back in this question mainly to Europe. So this news broke on Friday. I don't know if anybody can talk about this. It's my understanding that much of the dossier that is now being brought around Washington yesterday and today was previously presented in Europe and broadly rejected by the Europeans, who looked at it and said this doesn't meet the level of what the Israelis are asserting. Can anyone talk a little bit about that? Because I think that fact is unknown largely in the United States. And also, can you talk a little bit about the kind of communications you're getting from your European funders and partners who have really stood by the organizations now for pretty much more than a decade of ongoing efforts by the Ministry of Strategic Affairs, by NGO Monitor, to paint exactly the picture that sort of was culminated in Friday's designation. Sahar, I see you have your hand raised, so why don't you go ahead?
Yes, first let me start with these reports that the Israeli groups, right-wing groups like NGO Monitor and the others were gathering all these years and drafting in very nice looking reports maybe. Actually, all this information inside these reports are taken from the security service files that is presented in some cases in the military courts that we are working in for 30 years and claiming that it's not a fair court procedures. There's no due process in these courts, not mentioning most of this information is based on confessions by Palestinian prisoners that they are tortured and ill-treated systematically in these interrogation centers under the Israeli security services. So I just in very short would reflect on this report that was submitted actually in May to the European side. This report was based actually in mostly the confessions of two people. And I cannot excuse me because I'm representing in one of the cases. I know legally the file and the evidences, but I cannot discuss much on public about the evidences because it will affect the file that is still taking place in their military court that were not discussed deeply. And instead of checking these evidences in front of their military court, they jumped and took this decision by the minister. So actually the report was taken, pieces were taken from the interrogation sessions and the confessions of these two prisoners out of 5, 6 prisoners that they arrested in the case of the healthcare committees, and drafted in a way that to convince the international community, especially the EU groups, that these organizations are associated with the PFLP. And as a lawyer, And I would highlight here that one of the lawyers, before she became a Knesset member, Ms. Gabi Liski, was one of the lawyers who represented, and she knows exactly the evidences and the level of evidences they have in this file. I assume they know that they have a very weak file, legally speaking, that even they suspect that it will work in front of their military court, and this is why this step was taken now.
Thank you. Shawan, you want to go next? You are muted.
Just in a very brief, I think this is zero legal basis file. I don't want to go in details, but the file they gave it to the European before, I have it. You know, sorry, I haven't it now on my email, or I can share it with you also. This is nothing. This is nothing. You can challenge them. I think now the case is not information here or there. They try to throw dust everywhere like this. The question, if there is a due process in the Israeli, for instance, or to challenge them, if there is international standards, for instance, when you designate this or that, do they follow the standards or not? I mean, human rights standards, international law, humanitarian law standards. That's an issue. This part of the question. Is it there, for instance? I don't trust the Israeli legal system when it comes dealing with the Palestinian cases. It means nothing. The judiciary system in Israel, it's a rubber stamp in the executive authority, the military authority, the intelligence authority. That's the case. This is not just words. This is confirmed by a long time before this one. Because of that, we don't trust, but in the same time, we are not focusing on this. We are left, this for our legal team to study these things, but I think our focus is on other thing, is the advocacy and calling, the third state parties to stand up behind their values and the principles, not behind the 6 organizations, not behind the civil society organizations in Palestine. No, just to stand behind their values, democratic, in any democratic society, to stand behind their standards, to stand behind, the narrative that they have been saying all the days. That's when I ask the US, for instance, are you ready to accept, for instance, false allegations and informations and things like that? Are you ready to accept, for instance, which called secret file? Are you ready, for instance, to put all of these things just here and there? That's the issue. Are you ready, for instance, to target a civil society because of the nature of their work? Are you ready, for instance, to silence the organizations or individuals when they expressed their messages in different ways as an expression, freedom of expression? This is an issue, I think. And this is a test, I think, for the US, for the EU, and for everybody who does believe of international law and human rights law, and also the democratic standards. This is a test. Palestine is a test. Even it's a test for the international law itself. That's the case, I think. This is where we are. We will not step back, as I said. We will not give up. And the main approach we are taking is we are challenging them to approve what they say, not challenging us to say something. We challenge them to approve this. Let's approve that before the Americans first. Let's approve that before the EU first. That's the case. The EU, they didn't take, a strong position. You know why? You know why? Because they are divided. They're also friends for Israel. They are also maybe parliamentarians, and the commission, they receive their messages from Tel Aviv, not from their capitals even. That's the case. There are good people and there are bad people. That makes it, and all the time they are asking for consensus, but also the EU individual countries, they expressed their strong position to stand behind their values and their principles and their standards. That's the case. We do believe of them also in the US. The hope is coming also from the new generation, the progressives, all of those, they do believe about, these values and these principles. This is where we go. This is, the message that we would like to see. If they allow this to happen, to continue, I think this will be a damage for the Palestinian civil society. This will be, a damage for the Palestinian society. The Israelis, they want to engineer. They want to engineer our society. Who can say who can speak and who can't speak? Because of that, even the Palestinian Authority these days, they look at it as a danger. They look at it as a national danger. Really, this is the case. It's not just only the 6 organizations. Do we want to leave them to engineer our society? Who can be legal and illegal, and the occupying power, they decide about this? How it comes? That's the case. This is the message to the Congress. This is the message to the CIA also, to investigate all of these things, these allegations. The Israelis, they know well, they know us well, that we have a deep faith of justice, and we do have a deep faith of international law and the human rights standards. That's the case. This is the issue.
Thanks. Ubay, would you like to weigh in?
Yes. Look, they presented what they so-called evidence dossier back in May through the Belgians. We, with health work committees, have a joint program that's supported through a Belgian NGO by the Belgian development. After Belgians reviewed the file, did their own investigations, did all the process, the Belgian minister in charge of international cooperation went in front of Parliament and said, this is propaganda, this is not substantiated evidence, there is no truth to the file that has been followed. And I dare any independent, third party, professional investigation into claims like these, would they find them anything other than libel or propaganda or just lies. What's being targeted today is civil society. What's being targeted today is the truth. What's being targeted today, not just our work as Palestinian civil society, but international civil society also. I say the world is now looking at the actions of governments right now. I say repressive regimes everywhere that are not comfortable with civil society are also looking at this case. If it's so easy to designate 6 human rights organizations based on the claims that say secret data, secret evidence against us, and when we tell them, okay, present that, let us have a chance to rebuke those evidence, they say, no, we will not do that. Then this is state terrorism at its finest hour. And our only faith and only reliance is on the free people of the world to pressure their members of parliament, to pressure their Congress members, and to pressure their governments to act and defend human rights.
Thank you. I see Fuad wants to come in.
Very quickly, I know the colleagues is covering the topics, but I think there is one important thing that it's clear that they want to isolate the Palestinian civil society, and they're shrinking spaces like it's part of that. They started with this 6 civil society organization, but it will not stop here. One of the things that encouraging them, actually the silence of some of the international communities, and here is the donors, because they give the donors all what they called it evidence, as Shawan said. But even the donors, we have a chat with them, they are not believing what they have in their files. But you have to raise your voice, you have to respond to that and saying, stop this very idiot story that you are running after the Palestinian civil society. We are funding since 20 or 30 years. They know us very well. They know that this organization is away from any corruption, from any even all the transparency. They did several times audit for what they did investigation. And I asked the Dutch to release the report and the decision. We're waiting since 2 years to hear from them about the outcomes of that investigation, which is lead also and contributed to lead to what we have right now. The European community, the donors, everyone should raise their voice and say direct to Israel, you have to stop this teaching. You are the occupation power here.
Thank you. We heard a little bit about the European response. Shawan also talked about Washington's response, but I want to dig in a little bit deeper in terms of the Biden administration and their response, but also the Congress. what are you hearing directly, or are you hearing anything directly from the administration? And have people in Congress reached out to you directly to either find out more, to hear your side of the issue, or anything along those lines? Because as some of you may know, there is a piece of legislation sponsored by Congresswoman Betty McCollum to at least condemn these designations. But is there anything more? And what would you like to see? What is the ideal response coming from Washington or European capitals? Even if, you know, condemning is not enough, how should they be responding? Obey, go ahead.
You're muted, Obey.
Okay, I think this is very important. Congresswoman Betty McCollum is doing a great effort in trying to protect basic human rights. There needs to be also an understanding that these 6 organizations have several US and foreign nationals working among their staff. For example, at Bisan, we have me, myself, and another colleague are US citizens. And these kinds of designations have deep effects, not just on Palestinians, but also on foreigners and dual citizens that are working part of these organizations. So we would expect Congress, we would expect the Biden administration, we would expect everyone to take all the measures necessary to communicate with us, communicate with their citizens, and understand the current situation before taking any steps in any direction. And this is also something that we extend to the members of Congress that are supporting Israel on this issue. They are not just attacking Palestinians, they are attacking even, this resolution even criminalizes Israeli left-wing civil society that is pro-Palestinian rights. So it's I think it's shameful, these kinds of works, and I think also that these kinds of I would say going forward on this and acting on it just like as it's a political issue is totally ignoring the context and the human rights aspects of it.
Thanks, Khalid and Shawan. I want to ask you to weigh in. If you could address the point specifically about what happens if, as I think is likely, you know, there's lots of hand wringing, there's lots of you know, people disapproving of this decision, but there isn't much else. And generally, Europe and the United States, you know, don't reject it completely. And sort of acquiesce in it. What happens in that case to your organizations? So in addition to the question of the US response, if you could tackle that as well. Go ahead, Khalid.
Thank you. I think the Israeli Minister of Defense, when he took this decision, it's not, of course, it is a political decision, but it is built on the previous experience that they used to have a silence from the international community, from the EU and from the US. And I believe that the keeping silence against the crimes that they are committing against the Palestinians, and now in this decision, it become not green light to continue the crimes. I believe it become kind of partnership in this crime, in these crimes. So for the Biden administration, it's now the time, it is the test. If they are going to continue talking good words and no action, so it will be no different with the Trump administration. So I think this is the time to decide, or to be with the human rights or with the international law, or to continue supporting the criminals. I can say that we did a good work in the ground with the international organizations, with the UN agencies, and unfortunately, the international community failed to hold Israel accountable for their crimes, because there is no political will in the area. So I can say now, conclude that they are partners in the crimes against the Palestinians, and they have to change their role.
Shoan, would you like to weigh in?
3 small points. If they want to shut us down and to silence us as illegal, as a civil society, as a peaceful means, what they want us to use, if they don't want us to use, legal means, to go to the institutions, international institutions, exactly what they want us to use, to defend the rights, to defend the justice for victims, because at the end we are defending justice for victims. That's, I think, a big question. Everyone has to think about it. Another thing is, when they close all doors before us, which message they would like to send to the new generation? This is also another question everyone has to think about it. If they close the organizations, and this is according the Palestinian law, established according Palestinian law, what they left for the PA, the Palestinian Authority, the people they can ask, you can't protect our land, you can't protect our life, you can't protect our institutions, why you are here? I think also there is another political question to the US also, those they interest with the PA, with the two-state solution, things like that. I think they have to think about it. Another thing is, yes, to be honest with you, I myself, I didn't think about the consequences. I think with one main thing, that we will continue our work. If there is resources or there is no resources, we will continue our work to appear and to provide anything in our hands in a very professional way, in a very legal way, to the International Criminal Court. We will continue our work. That's the case I'm thinking about. Now the consequences, maybe the banking system is an issue, mainly, this, it's important. I can't say it's not important. We are ready to work voluntary. Working in human rights, it's not a job. Working in human rights in the face of oppressive regimes, occupying power, it's not a job. We are working for the victims. We are working for the future of Palestinians in this area. We are working for the fundamental rights, and the main rights is the self-determination. That's the issue that we are working for, and we will not stop. They can come and arrest me. They can come and close the office. I will open the office. If they want to send me to the prison, I will work from the prison under the umbrella and the name of Al-Haq. That's the case, that they have to know that well. We are not thinking about the consequences here or there. In our life, in our organizations, and that's it. It's not words from my side. It's not words. It's a commitment, and this is a promise. I promise you.
Thanks, Shoan. Tahrir, please go ahead.
Actually, Shawan said what I want to say, that we are not deriving from our legitimacy from the Israeli occupation. We are deriving our legitimacy from our Palestinian masses and from the support of the people who believes in human rights and the right to have independent state for Palestinian people. As we said, the occupation state is criminalizing every Palestinian and every step towards the independence and the Palestinian rights. We promise our people that we are continuing our work. We are continuing defending their rights and providing services for our women and children, which actually complies with the international law and didn't contradict with any convention or any agreement. And we will keep enhancing the steadfastness of our people in their land. The position of different of the international organizations is very important for us. We as the UPWC, all the partners and the funders will promise and send us messages that they are supporting us, and they will continue support to our organization. Yesterday, we have a message from our volunteers in UAWC that around 20 psychologists will keep volunteering in the organization to provide the psychosocial support for women, even if the Israeli occupation closed the organization or stop funding or arrest the staff. We have also a group of volunteers from lawyers and from journalists who will keep continue, and from teachers of the kindergarten. Thank you.
Sahar, please go ahead.
The bottom line, Raed and all, that we are human rights defenders. What you have to do in order to support us, this order should be revoked. And how it could be revoked? Just by political pressure from states that will enforce Israel to revoke this decision. Otherwise, it would be very, very dangerous, not just for the Palestinian civil society, but all human rights defenders all over the world. If this message that states can easily attack human rights defenders in the name of laws, counterterrorism laws. Thank you. It's the US responsibility, the US state, as they support Israel, they can revoke this decision.
Can
Thanks.
I speak
So-
2 points, Khalid or Lara?
Absolutely, Shawan.
Look, our people, this is the first time. Thanks for Gantz for his decision. They brought up our energy, to be honest with you, our power, and now our people, they are supporting us. This is a moment, to be honest with you, when we speak about thousands of people, they are ready. That's the case. The people that we are working with them, companies like printing, Baba, designing, they are doing for free for us, and they declare that. Our colleagues and former colleagues, we are working with 45 staff members. Now we are working with hundreds of staff members everywhere over the world. That's the case, because everyone feels that this is oppression. This is oppression for political reasons, trying to silence us. Another thing is Biden. Biden in his campaign, he focused and stressed on 3 main things: human rights, rule of law, and all of these things. I think now it's a test. This is a test for his administration, where they are standing. Where they are standing. I don't want to go that this case, it's like root causes and all of these things, and they have to address all of these things. No. Even regarding what we are facing these days, which is clear. Our friends over the world, they are standing behind us. They are really, really strongly standing. Our funders and our partners, they are doubling their funding to us. That's the case. We have no lack of funding, to be honest with you. Even the banks, if they have problems, the question is for the US, if they are ready to give a green light to the banks that they can work with us or not. This is an issue, I think, because it will damage also the banks here and also the economic system also here. Thank you.
Thanks. We are coming to the end where we have 8 more minutes, which is a short amount of time. I sort of want to give everyone a chance to sort of say one last thing. And I'll tell you the thing that I'd be interested in hearing people who are comfortable, if you're comfortable talking about, is something that was referenced previously, which is how this sort of sits in the broader assaults on human rights defenders around the world. The sort of, Palestinian human rights are on the forefront, right? The tip of the spear, but how this is a test more broadly. We have 8 minutes left, so I don't know if a couple of people want to weigh in quickly, but I think that would be really helpful for contextualizing this. And let's start with Sahar.
Thank you. In very short, I think it's very, very important to highlight that Israel is not just promoting such kind of anti-terror laws. Let's remember the weapons industry and the surveillance industry that this system is involved in, and trying to sell it for the whole world in order to be used, not just against terror, but mainly against civil society people all over the world who are resisting and seeking democracy and freedom for all. So this is why we should be all united in facing such oppression regimes. Thank you.
Thanks. Ubay?
So we just finished research on Bsharat for Shrinking Space for Women Activists, where we examined this case in Palestinian context and the world context. I think that one of the most important things that we observed in this study is that oppressive regimes learn from each other. This is a test case. What's happening to Palestinian civil society being outlawed in mass, and these are not 6 marginal civil society organizations, and not by my words, by the words of leading figures in Palestinian society. These are the 6 most active civil society organizations in the Palestinian society. They have been here longer than the PA. They have challenged all human rights violations by everyone from Israel to the PA to any political party to everyone. And they have, these organizations, worked concretely on improving and promoting democratic values and human rights in the Palestinian society. So this attack will resonate worldwide. Right-wing governments everywhere, oppressive regimes, dictators are saying, okay, so if Israel can get away with this, why not also try it in Africa, try it in Asia, try it in Europe, and you can imagine what the ripple effects globally will this have on all human rights defenders around the world.
Thanks. Let's go to Fuad.
Yeah, thank you. I think that this is the moment of truth, and protecting the human rights defender in very critical situations is a responsibility of not just the 6 organizations, but even everyone around the world who believe in these values. And I think we are very close to putting this decision down. The huge campaigns is run everywhere in the world, I think mean a lot. And the Israelis start even hesitating and having internal discussion about what kind of great damage we did to our image in the way. This aggression against the Palestinian civil society should be stopped. Will not give up, as everyone said. We will continue, because without the efforts and the great significant job that done by these 6 organizations, even the situation in the ground will be totally miserable, and will allow the Israelis to be more control the human before the trees and the stone in each centimeter of Palestine. Thank you.
Thanks. And Khaled, I think you're going to get the last word on the panel.
Thank you. And I would like to say that this decision came as part of the Israeli policy for shrinking space and to silence the Palestinian human rights organization. And all, of course, during the years, we suffered as a human rights organization from this policy. Unfortunately, in some places, there was kind of understanding of sometimes working with such restrictions that we used to face from the different places. But what we are suffering from and other international human rights organizations, even UN agencies, many UN special rapporteurs, they are deprived from coming to the country while their position to be in Palestine, like the High Commissioner for Human Rights Office is now without the director since months, because the Israeli deprived to give him. So I can say that this policy now is try to force us to stop and to be silent. But we say we clearly said, and we are saying that we will continue our work. We receive different kind of support from letters from parliamentarians, from UN agencies, and I want to see the reaction from the international community against this decision. From Palestine, we decided, all the organization, to continue the work in different ways, in different means, regardless the Israeli decision. But of course, we need the support from all actors in this level.
Thank you. Unfortunately, that's going to have to be the last word. I want to thank our Palestinian colleagues for joining us today. It was a tremendously informative forum. So thank you to Obey, to Shawan, Khaled, Tahrir, Fuad, Sahar. And also I want to make sure that I acknowledge and thank all of our co-convening organizations, the Middle East Institute, Foundation for Middle East Peace, the Carnegie Endowment, Dawn, the International Crisis Group, Century International, and also a number of supporting organizations like Human Rights Watch, the Carter Center, and Oxfam. A reminder to please check back on the landing page for this website for a recording and any additional resources that we might add. And so with that, I bid you farewell and thank you all.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. Shukran.
Thank you.